I left eXp Realty and I made a whole other video of why I was considering leaving, where I was considering going. But in today's video, I'm going to discuss what you need to know about either leaving eXp Realty or just a brokerage in general. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stress or the unknown about leaving a brokerage that you've been with maybe 6 months or almost 5 years like myself. And I'm going to break down everything that you should know and things you should do before actually leaving your broker. Now in the video, there's going to be eXp specific things, maybe 1 or 2 things, but in general, this could apply to anybody looking to go from one brokerage to the next, because I hear these stories all the times of like, I walked into my broker's office, I told them I'm leaving, and then a bunch of things happened after that. So we need to get prepared, or we need to do things so that we can make sure that we have all our contacts and a bunch of things that we're going to discuss today. So first and foremost, eXp and how they handled us leaving. I wasn't super stressed because I'm comfortable having uncomfortable conversations, but it's still not something nice to have. Me and my business partner went to the eXp world and sat down with our broker and just let them know, hey, it's time for us to move on. We want to leave eXp, and they handled it with class and professionalism. There was no pressure or pushback or anything like that. They were super good about it. Of course, they asked, hey, no problem at all. We hate to see you go, but what happened? Give us some feedback. And we just had a little conversation. They were like, great, no problem. If you go on to the next brokerage and you change your mind, you're free to always come back. And that was super cool of them, very professional, made it very stress-free. But there are things that we had to sign and things that we had to turn in as far as going from eXp to a different brokerage. Something to note is that whether it's eXp or any other broker, when you are leaving one brokerage to the other, you have to ask what the policy is from the brokerage you're leaving as far as taking your clients, especially things that are under contract. Now, it varies a ton depending where you are, what state you are, so on and so forth. Usually from what I've heard from others and what was our experience, anything that was not under contract, they would just release it and allow us to take it to the new brokerage. But things that are under contract, every brokerage and eXp probably in different states have different policies. Sometimes they want a referral fee and allow you to take it to the next brokerage. Sometimes they'll just close it out wherever they're located. Make sure you have that specific conversation with the broker, and that's really what the conversation is. Hey, I'm leaving. What can we do with our deals? What can we negotiate to either have a referral fee or close it here? What is the process that will happen with that? And that's the main conversation you need to have with your broker. Now, here's the next part, and this is basically what happens with everybody, no matter what brokerage, is that once you have that conversation and you're saying, hey, I'm leaving, and you iron out the specifics about what you're going to do with the things under contract, right after that meeting, probably within 30 minutes to an hour, you're going to be locked out of everything. Whatever the CRM is, whatever the DocuSign system they use, whatever apps or softwares and that type of thing that you have with that company, you're going to be completely cut off from that. With eXp specifically, you're cut out of SkySlope, you're cut off of Enterprise, you're cut off of Bold Trail or KV Core, what it was called, and you're also cut off of Canva because with eXp Realty, you do get Canva Pro, and I believe that took about 24 hours for Canva, but everything else was within the hour. Something else that you need to know is that the ShareWorks account, you will still have access to ShareWorks because that is your stock, and also the E-Trade that you connected with the ShareWorks, that is absolutely your stock. And the E-Trade that's connected with the ShareWorks, that's actually your account, so eXp does not deal with that or take anything away from you. Now, touching on the stock awards, because this is a question I had from my team members, hey, I have stock that has not vested or stock that has vested, what's gonna happen when we leave eXp? And all that type of stuff. What I did is I went to eXp Corporate in the world and I went and talked to a stock person. I believe you go to accounting and you just get some help there and you can talk to somebody. And he basically laid everything out. And I told him, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about leaving, or I had an agent that's thinking about leaving on my team. What happens to their stock account? So feel free to ask eXp Corporate different questions that you have. It's not going to be a taboo thing. They deal with this type of stuff all the time. So if you have concerns, if you have questions for anything specific when leaving, go ahead and ask them. They're super nice about it, super professional, no issues whatsoever. But just so that you know, is that anything that you have vested in your stock account, it will basically go away. In your ShareWorks account, you're gonna have an available and a unavailable amount of stock there. The part that you're gonna keep is the available part, and that's basically what is in your E-Trade account. And the unavailable part is basically what's gonna be vesting over the next year to 3 years time, depending when that stock was granted for you. So what you're gonna lose is the unavailable part. And just so you know, here is my unavailable stock, and this is basically what I'm giving up to go to a different brokerage. It looks like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but that's something that's going to vest over the next 3 years, some within 6 months, some within a year, some within 2 or 3 years. Don't let this keep you from moving on if you feel like your business is at a place that you need something different, but just know that this is the amount that's unavailable to you and that you're gonna lose with switching from eXp to a different brokerage. And another thing to know is that the unavailable stock, it's something that companies use as a retention for their people or employees or agents. There's nothing wrong with that. Many different companies do that. You know, the big tech companies, they have stock that's vested over a long period of time. This is just a strategy they use to retain employment. I mean, that's totally cool, but just know that it's not a penalty. Don't think about this money as something that's in your pocket that you're giving up. This is not in your pocket. This is not something that's yours yet, but it is something that you're gonna lose if you leave the company. Those are two key distinctions to know when moving from eXp to a different brokerage. If 20, 10, 15, $40,000 is something that you feel like you need to stay where you're at, if you are unhappy or need something different, we probably need to have a different discussion, which is how is your business going that you can't lose $20,000 or $40,000 and make that up wherever it is that you're going. So definitely focus on the business growth or focus on the aspects that you're gonna get going somewhere else and how much more you can increase your revenue just by going there or whatever they can provide or the people you're gonna be around or the training or whatever you're looking for that you're not getting here, not necessarily the stock that's not even yours yet. Now, before we go ahead and talk to the broker, it's very important to be prepared for when you have that conversation. Like I mentioned earlier, you get shut out of everything, right? So you don't want to be in a place in your business to where I'm thinking about leaving, I'm going to talk to my broker, see what they think, and then they're like, well, are you leaving or not? And you're like, yeah, I'm going to leave. And then all of a sudden you're locked out of everything. Your sky slope, which is everywhere where you have your deals. If you're locked out from KV Core and now your clients, you don't have their contact information, whatever the case may be, you don't want to be in a point that you're locked out of everything. You're technically not with the broker, and all of a sudden you have deals going on. Maybe there's a closing next week, or you're trying to schedule showings and you have no brokerage. In the state of Tennessee, you have to have your license hanging within a brokerage. Different states are different. Some states, a broker can just drop you and you can kind of be in limbo land for a week or two until somebody else picks you up. You don't want to get to that place to where you get dropped and now you have no idea what to do because you don't know who to join, and now you're trying to scatter and trying to figure out who you're going to join, and you make a last minute decision and you join somewhere that you probably wouldn't have if you have had more time. So make sure you are prepared. So before you have that conversation with your brokerage, do your research. Find where you're going to go before you even think about having a conversation with your broker. Do not leave first and then figure it out later. First, figure it out. Where am I going to go? Now, this doesn't mean take 6 months to a year to figure it out because you're busy. We're all busy in our business, and it's going to suck. There's going to be no perfect time to where you have no deals going on and it's the perfect time to switch. If that's you, we have a different conversation we need to have, and it's more about your business. But if you are slow now or busy now, just make sure financially it is visible, because you're gonna have to change signs, you're gonna have to change branding and logos and all that different stuff. But more often than not, we're just pushing it down the line because it is stressful and it is a big change. But make sure you are prepared and you know where you are going. Now, with knowing where you are going, for example, we are going to Real. So what we did is we applied to Real, we got the application process, we talked, we started forming our team, and everything was ready at Real for us to essentially be like, hey, we just transferred our license, please pick us up. So before we even had the conversation with our broker, we had everything ironed out with Real. So all that was left here in the state of Tennessee, which comes into our next topic, is knowing your state specific requirements for switching. We are right at the border of the Tennessee and Georgia border. So we kind of had to do two different states, and they're both very different. Tennessee is a state that requires a form, so that we had to go to our broker with the form already signed from the Real broker saying, hey, we're leaving, please sign this form so that we can send it to TREC, which is the Tennessee Real Estate Commission Board in Tennessee. And then once we had them sign it, we had to submit it, pay the fees, and it took 1 to 2 business days for them to do everything on their end. And then once it was transferred, we can go back to Real and be like, hey, we're finally transferred through TREC, can you please pick us up? And then they picked us up. The whole process took about 2, maybe 3 business days, but in the state of Georgia, it was completely different. In Georgia, we just had to let our broker know, hey, we're leaving, we're going to Real. They said, not a problem. It was all electronic. They basically dropped us, and then we had to just let the Georgia broker at Real know, hey, we got dropped from eXp, please pick us up, and they picked us up, and that was done within a couple hours in 1 business day. So there is differences in state-specific requirements. I can link down below if you're thinking about Real what your state-specific requirement is. They have a webpage. If you're wherever you live in the United States, you just click on your state and it'll tell you exactly what you need to do or what the requirements are for your state to make sure if you're transferring to Real, everything you need to take care of to make sure there is no lull or you don't get dropped, and you can still service your clients throughout that process. The next thing I want to discuss is revenue share that you will be leaving at eXp Realty. Now, if this wasn't a big part of your business, probably not super important to you, but more than likely, if you are doing business and you might have had 1 or 2 people join you, and this was something that was hard for me. I didn't have a ton. I didn't have a couple hundred people. At the height, I had around 20, but recently I had about 7 because a lot of people left or did their own thing. So it was very hard for me in the sense of revenue share, not from the income that I was making from it, but more so the emotional attachment I had to the people that I recruited to eXp, because I felt bad for saying, hey, come to eXp. It's awesome. We can do this. We can do that. And then over time, I started to look, and then I end up leaving to a different broker. So a lot of these people were my personal friends. We have had conversations and I basically explained to everybody why I'm leaving and the reasons associated with that. And some of them might even come, who knows? But it was something that was emotionally hard for me because it was a decision that I made, but I had recruited people to this brokerage, right? Just know that that's normal. Your business is gonna change over time, and maybe for them at their business, eXp is perfect for them, and that's great. You can just still support them, you can still cheer them on, but if you have to move on, don't let where people are in their business stop you from growing your business. So this was a hard part for me. I didn't have a ton of revenue share. I had enough to where it would help pay the office and help pay certain bills here and there. But where I am going, I also have revenue share opportunities. I'm still going to be able to recruit and do that type of stuff where I am going. If revenue share is not important to you, then maybe you go from eXp to Keller Williams or another local brokerage, and you don't even have to worry about that side. But just know that there is kind of this emotional attachment to the people that you brought to eXp. But just be honest with them, have conversations, let them know why you are leaving, and maybe it's better for your business to move on, and more than likely all of them understood, and we're still friends, and I'm still going to help them no matter what. The last thing I want to discuss is to expect a learning curve. You're going from one system to the other, whether you go from eXp to KW or KW to Berkshire or Berkshire to Compass or whatever company you go to. Everybody uses different systems, and there is going to be a big learning curve going from one system to another. Now, what I will say is I've been to 3 different brokerages in my real estate career. When I got my license in 2018, it was Keller Williams. I left real estate, but when I came back in 2021, it was eXp, and I've been at eXp up until probably 2 days ago here in 2026, almost 5 years, and now I am transferred to Real. And yes, every single place I've been to, the 3 have different systems. Now, what I will say is every place you go to does not onboard people the same way. Some are better, some are far worse, and just know that when you are looking at different brokerages, absolutely ask, how is your onboarding process? Do I have somebody that walks me through it? Do you have training videos? What is the process you have for when people onboard to your system? For us, a small team, we are rather busy. It was very important to have an onboarding system or an onboarding person to help us out throughout the whole process. And for us at Real, it's been absolutely amazing. We've been on trainings with, I got me, my business partner, other team leader, and our admin, our transaction coordinator, on a Zoom call with them, and they literally walked us through everything, showed us how to do everything. There's trainings, there's emails. For us, it's been absolutely fantastic. Whether that's eXp or Real or Compass or Keller Williams, whatever company you go to, make sure there's somebody that's going to help you throughout the process. Especially if you're super busy, maybe you can just push everything into your admin's lap, but make sure they have onboarding, they have the resources wherever you're going to, because it is going to be a huge learning curve. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad, and that doesn't mean you don't do it, but just expect that. Expect the stress for a week or 2 trying to figure things out, and that just comes with the territory moving over to a different brokerage. So there's no perfect time to switch from a brokerage, but more often than not, when you need to make the switch. Instead of pushing it off for 6 months or a year or the perfect time of the year to switch, if you feel it in your heart that it's time to move on to a different brokerage for whatever reason, maybe opportunity or help or local or cloud-based, whatever the case may be, just know that there's going to be a ton of things that you have to deal with. It's absolutely normal, but don't let comfort keep you from growing your business if that's what you desire. If you guys need help, reach out to me. I love to help other realtors grow their business, and maybe you're thinking about switching from one brokerage to the next. You just need to bounce off ideas. Feel free to reach out to me. And if you're thinking about Real, I would love to get on a call with you and show you why I moved my business from being somewhere for 5 years to this brokerage because of the opportunity and the people and the culture and so many other things. With that said, until next time, take care and God bless.